Fear is kind of an inbuilt human natural emotion. And it is very powerful, very primitive, but very powerful. And it's really the threat of harm that you perceive. So it's like almost if you feel that something's going to happen, it may be a million miles from happening. But if you fear it, this emotion overtakes you. And that emotion will then dictate how you react. Now, fear is both physical. You'll have a physical reaction. You will have an emotional reaction, a psychological reaction, and it will affect you. So a lot of people who live in kind of depression have this unfortunate vicious circle where it's just fear of this, fear of that, fear of losing this, fear of that. And this is an emotion that Allah has placed in us for a reason. And this is an emotion that if we don't learn to control properly, and inshallah later on in the program we'll be discussing how to control it and what true control of it is, then it is really a weapon of the shaitan. Because what the glorious Quran says in Surah Baqarah, verse 268, shaitan threatens you with poverty and orders you to immorality, while Allah promises you forgiveness from him and a bounty. And Allah is all-encompassing, all-knowing. Now, what that says is that the shaitan actually brings a fear in you. And what he does is he brings this fear in you so that he can lead you astray. So we have fears which are irrational. Some people may be scared of a small spider there, and they might run a mile. And you think, look at the size of you compared to the spider. And you tell them, this little thing doesn't bite. And one, I might pick it up and walk around with it, but others will have this irrational fear. That's an extreme. But when it comes to daily life, in our dealings, in our sustenance, in everything that we have, what this fear does is it overtakes our willingness to obey Allah. So what happens is this. Everybody has this desire that I want to be, all Muslims, and that I want to be obedient in the court of Allah. But then the shaitan comes along, and what he says is, but you're trying to stick to halal because you think that Allah will be pleased with you. But what if you haven't got enough money to feed your children? What are you going to do then? What if you haven't got enough money to put bread on the table? What if you haven't got enough money to pay for your children's fees? What if you haven't got enough money to live a nice lifestyle? Look at the person next door. He didn't do this. You are going to get into poverty because you are now, differentiating between what halal is and haram. It's all the same. And then that's when you get people who say, well, interest, what's wrong with interest? It's like business dealings. And the glorious Quran says that. And this is the slippery slope. And where does it all start? It starts with this emotion of fear. And what the shaitan does is puts a veil in front of you. And that fear overtakes your actions and emotions.